Hello, good afternoon. I'd like to talk to you today about one of my favourite models, which is the Kubler-Ross change curve. So Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was a Swiss psychiatrist that came up with this change curve, and she came up with it in response to her work around grief and bereavement. And what's happened is this has been adopted by the organisational world, by corporates. And I like it a lot because I have a phrase that when I'm working with managers and leaders through my workshops where I talk about the two hats. So one hat is the hat that I wear myself, and the other hat is the hat I have to put on for my people. So I think what this useful in this presentation is to think about where am I and which phase am I at in this curve, and what might my people be experiencing and how can I help them. So if you're not a leader or manager, that's absolutely fine, because this will be very relevant to help think about where you're at. And it's also helpful to just acknowledge where people that might be working close to you might be at. So these are the 5 stages here, and we can see it starts with shock, and then it moves to denial, then anger, then exploration and acceptance. So right down at the bottom of anger is what I've written despair, because some people might go through the valley of despair there. So shock, so that's the numbness. That's when we hear the news. So, and that's that sort of feeling of, oh, you know, I don't know what to make of this. So the best thing to do is to give yourself some space at that point to digest and to take in the information. And if you're a manager, then it's just to listen. It's just to listen to your people, listen with curiosity and see what emerges. And I guess it's a bit of fact-finding at that point as well, in what's happening, what is the news, what's the impact. And I think we can all relate to that phase when we all found out about the news around this virus, because it was all roughly about the same time for all of us. The second phase, I think, is denial. So that's when people push down. They say, well, I know it's happening, but it's not happening to me. So that can be a really tricky phase, I think, for everyone and for managers, because we don't always recognise that the person we're working with is in denial. But the best thing to do at that point is to listen and to have two-way exchange. And ask, what's your concerns, what's going on for you. Try and get to the source of their concerns and really help answer what those concerns are. And it's difficult as managers and leaders because we often don't know the answers ourselves. And I know many people have been telling me that really we're working it out as we go along. But I think it's giving space again and giving that opportunity for people to voice those concerns and having that dialogue. The third phrase is anger. And anger can be very obvious, or it can be under the surface. And I guess that's the difficult thing about the anger, because it can range from mild frustration to absolute furious. And I often think with anger, it's fear that sits underneath. And it's our role as managers and leaders to help understand what that fear is and what's going on for the person, and to give them an opportunity to voice that fear. So I think as a manager, if we can be unattached to an outcome, I know it's really difficult, but if we can listen, ask questions and reflect back, I hear you, I see you, I understand what you're feeling, what you're saying, then we're far more likely to help that person go through that phase. There's the valley of despair at the bottom there, where some people can dip down and it can feel like they go into depression. The next phase, as we start to come out, we start to come into the exploration phase, and that's where we start to test the boundaries, start new ways of working, start to adapt new behaviours. And for some people, some of that exploration is already happening. So we're working from home, we're having new ways of working, we're using online methods. And then finally, acceptance, which is the move to the new norm, the new way, and an acceptance and a kind of understanding that change is now the new way of working. So the two key things to say about this model: firstly, people will be at various places, and that's okay. So there is no normal. Anyone could be anywhere along this. But I've used this in workshop where I've asked people to come up and put a dot or put a cross on where they think they are. And it's really just to acknowledge where people are feeling and to help have that dialogue. I think, there is no normal, so I think you can be anywhere. The second thing to say is, in terms of the timeline, it can be 5 minutes for somebody to go through this whole process, or it could be 5 years or 10 years. There is no normal timeline, so to speak. So It's just about, I guess, working through and helping your people to understand where they are and to not judge where they are and to help support them with what they might need. Hope this is helpful. I'm doing another one tomorrow on change, and next week I'm doing some on listening and questioning and reflecting back. So I hope you have a good day.